Everyone dreams of going to Italy, but if you pack like a typical American tourist, that dream can quickly turn into a nightmare. I've seen way too many travelers to Italy waste their time and destroy their bags and wallets by making these 15 packing mistakes. I'm Gary with Optimal Travel, and I'm going to tell you how to avoid the most common mistakes, what to do instead, and I'm going to give you 3 gadgets that I always swear by on every trip to Italy. Now, I happen to be lucky and I married an Italian, but my first trip to Italy, I was bringing that big 30-inch size luggage, and my wife was just shaking her head at me because she knew I was in for it. The minute we got off the plane, I'm lugging that big thing down the streets and realizing it's not easy. They don't have the smooth paved sidewalks that you're used to in America. In fact, most of the streets and sidewalks are made of some type of cobblestone or other uneven pavement. And then you're constantly moving from train to hotel to train to hotel because you're not spending your entire Italy trip in one city. This isn't like going to Cancun for a week. This trip involves a lot of sightseeing and a lot of movement. And the heavier your bags are, the worse your back is going to feel and you're going to regret it. Now, there's 2 solutions to this. One, if you can manage it, just bring a 22-inch carry-on size bag. Doesn't mean you have to lug it through the airport and take it on the plane. You can check that bag too. But in this case, it'll be much easier to get through the streets of Italy, on and off the trains, up and down the stairs, and all the places you're going to be taking this luggage throughout your trip. Another compromise my wife and I make sometimes is we bring one big bag and one small one. At least then you're not both having to lug that heavy suitcase all over Italy. And this brings me to my next item that doesn't pass the cobblestone test either. For years, every time I went on vacation, I went somewhere warm like Hawaii, the Caribbean, Mexico. That was my idea of a great vacation. And so I'm used to wearing flip-flops on those trips. But as you get a little older, you start to appreciate the history that Italy and Europe and other places around the world bring to it, even if you're not going just to go to the beach. But you can't dress like you're going to the beach. You need comfortable footwear, especially walking around the streets of Italy, which are uneven. There's a lot of cobblestones. And if you're wearing uncomfortable shoes, it can lead to trips and falls or other foot pain that you just don't want to deal with.
And girls, I know we love our heels, but believe me, you won't like them in those cobblestone roads in Italy.
Also, keep in mind, on a trip to Italy or anywhere in Europe, you're going to be doing so much walking. It's not like a typical beach vacation. And another item that I always bring with me is a 6-ounce luggage scale. It's a handheld scale that you can pick up your bag with and weigh it anytime during your trip. Because when I go to Italy, I like to buy souvenirs. But I don't want it to end up costing me an extra 100 euros to get that on the plane because my bag is overweight. I'm already paying enough to check that bag in the first place. And the worst part is when they surprise you with it. Oh, your bag's overweight. If I would have known, I could have modified it, taken some things out, and packed my carry-on a little bit heavier. Now, if you're interested in any of these items I'm mentioning in this video, I do have a link to our Amazon store in the description, and we have all the items posted there. When you travel to Italy, you need a backpack or at least something to keep your valuables in a safe place. I always have a backpack that has a hidden pocket on the back that's facing me, that's zippered. So when I'm wearing that backpack, there's nobody going to get to my valuables, my passports, or anything like that.
And remember not to keep these things in your purse. They can get easily snatched. Instead, wear a waistband for all your valuables.
Whenever you're traveling out of the country, you have to expect that some things aren't going to go right. It always happens. But one of the worst things that ever happened to me is the airline lost my luggage on the way to Rome. And when I first got to the airport, they weren't very helpful, unfortunately. They didn't even know where it was. They said they were going to try to locate it. Luckily, I had one of those air tags in my luggage. And from this experience, I highly recommend that you buy one of these. They're not expensive and you can track it with your phone. So I actually knew that my bag was sitting somewhere at JFK. I don't know why it didn't make the connection, but I could see it was there. And I showed them that's where it was. And I was returned that bag within 24 hours. Now, had they not known where it was, who knows how long it would have took them to turn it up. Now, when we travel to Italy, it's a breeze. My wife speaks Italian. I don't have to worry about it. But there are some times where she'll be shopping or doing something and I'll wander off to a cafe or something and I'll kind of be on my own. Now, Italians are very nice in general, but one sticking point with a lot of them is the language. Now, they mostly know English or at least a reasonable amount of it, but they can be a little bit intimidating if you don't try to speak their language. They will be much more friendly if you know a few words or if you can translate what they're saying and respond appropriately. So one thing I don't leave home without is translation AirPods. The newer technology works great. I can have them in my ear and I know a few words. I can order something, but a lot of times that's not the problem. It's what they say back to me. It's really quick and I don't pick it up, but my AirPods do. So I know immediately what they're saying and I can respond with a C or a no or a per favore. And it's not that hard. So if you have a pair, bring it. If not, check one out in our description. They're not that expensive for the value they bring. Now, my wife and I have also done a lot of cruising and a lot of trips in the Caribbean, and sometimes we don't really care about having Wi-Fi service when we're out and about because we're either going from a hotel to a beach back to the hotel or from a cruise ship to a port back to the cruise ship where we have Wi-Fi. But when you're in Italy, you definitely are going to need some cell coverage. And this is because unless you're booking a tour for your entire trip, which I don't recommend because you won't really see it your way if you're doing everything that the tour wants you to do. You're going to need your phone to be working all day long. You're going to need Google Maps. You're going to need to check out the reviews at restaurants, the prices at restaurants. For example, when we go to Rome, if we start getting hungry and say we're by the Trevi Fountain, if we eat right there, we're going to pay double what you'd pay if you just go down an alleyway or a couple blocks over. And with my phone, I check all this stuff out. I know where I'm going. I'm planning it out. And I plan out my walking route, which way we're going to go. You need data for this to work. The best way to do this is to get an eSIM card. Because the first time I went, I relied on my cell carrier from back home in the US and it ended up charging me over $10 a day just to have some data to use. You can buy an eSIM card that works for 2 weeks, some of them for a month, for 10 gigs or 20 gigs of data for under $50 for the entire trip. I also have that linked in my Amazon storefront. You can check that out in our description. These SIM cards come in really handy and they will save you a ton of money. And the best part is once you're switched onto that SIM, you can't get stuck with roaming. A common mistake I'll see people make is they'll bring a hairdryer from the US and they'll bring a converter to plug it into an Italian port. You have to keep in mind that some of these small scale electronics are not meant to handle the voltage that is put out of European outlets. If you need to bring a hairdryer, you need to buy one that's dual voltage that can handle both 110 and 220. Or better yet, just rely on the hairdryers in your hotel. Most hotels will have a hairdryer in Europe, and while it might not be the best hairdryer, it might not be one that you're used to, at least you don't have to lug that piece of equipment with you, and you don't have to buy an expensive one just for this trip. But this brings me to another pro tip is that whenever you're traveling to Italy, make sure you're bringing adapters with you for European outlets, especially for your devices, like your cell phone charging station, or if you're bringing a computer or laptop, or if you're bringing an iPad, you need to be able to plug those into the European outlets. And you don't want to get here and then have to try to find those things. You'll pay double. You can buy them for pretty cheap in the US. You can find them on my Amazon shop. You can buy them at Walmart. And just get a number of these converters so that when you're at the hotel, you have no problem plugging in what you need to do to charge up your devices. Which leads me to another big problem people run into is that their phone dies somewhere in the afternoon. Because even if you're charging it all night, you're using it a lot during the day to get around these foreign cities. If you're on the train, they do have many USB ports on there. That's pretty convenient for charging up devices. But if you're just walking around the town, you're not going to have anywhere to go. So what I always do is bring a power bank with me and keep it in my backpack and take it throughout the day. If my phone gets low on charge, I'll go to a cafe, sit down, plug it in, let it charge up for 20 minutes, and I'm good to go the rest of the day.
And I'm guilty of this. I always end up with no charge. But I use my husband's power bank, so always remember to have it with you.
And this next mistake actually ruined a friend of mine's trip to Italy. So a friend of mine was in Italy a few years back, and he had kept his passport and his cell phone in a little bag that he wore around his waist. And he was at a coffee shop, and he took that off and set it on the table. Well, he doesn't know what happened, but the next thing he knows, that bag was gone. He didn't have his passport anymore or his phone, which had an electronic copy of the passport. So he had to go to the consulate. And it took them 5 days to get him situated and set up. Had he had that paper copy of his passport somewhere else, left it at the hotel, in his bags at the hotel, then he could have taken that copy to the consulate and he would have had his passport replaced right away. But if you don't have that, it can take a lot longer, several days to a week. And that means you're not really enjoying your vacation because in Italy, you're not intending to be in one spot for that long. So if you have to wait on a consulate, you can't move on with your trip. It kind of ruins things. And you have to be careful too, because in Italy, the police can stop you and ask you for your papers, even when you're walking out the street, especially if you're going in and out of a train station or a more secure area. They might ask for your documents. It's common there, and you have to be able to produce it. So you're not really able to freely go about your trip until you get that passport problem resolved. So while it is a total nightmare to lose a passport in any case, if you at least have a paper copy somewhere separate from the passport, you have a go-to to get it quickly replaced. And this next set of tips actually had me feeling like an amateur on my first trip to Italy, but not anymore. I'm going to show you how to do Italy like a pro. But first, if you've ever traveled abroad, what do you do to protect your documents and your passport? Let me know in the comments below. Most trips that I take, and probably you can relate to this, are maybe for a week to the Caribbean, maybe a cruise for a week to Florida. And so when I'm packing something for every day. But you can't really afford to do that when you're doing 2 weeks or more in Italy. I'd still pack for about a week's worth of outfits, but I'd schedule time on one day to do laundry and refresh everything. Because actually in Italy, laundromats are common. It's not like the US. A lot of people don't have washing machines in their apartments. And this really helps you cut down on space in your suitcase so that you don't have to lug all that stuff all throughout the country.
And remember, if you need more outfits, you're in Italy, the fashion capital of the world. You can always find something. Or some things.
But then, what about when you just first get off the plane, get into that hotel, and open up that suitcase? What I really hate is living out of a suitcase. But what you have to do in Italy is basically that, because you're not at a hotel for a week or two. You're not able to really unpack. If you do, you're spending a lot of time unpacking and repacking every day or two. So what we usually do is my wife and I bring these packing cubes and we pack everything in packing cubes or bags in the suitcase. So everything's organized. Our socks are in one place, underwear in one place, shirts in one place, running clothes in another place, shoes all together. That way it's easy to pull stuff in and out in one container and deal with it. And you can kind of live a lot better out of a suitcase this way. And it's probably not at the top of your mind when you're planning your trip to Italy, but it can and will rain. And when it rains in Italy, it could be for a whole day. It might not be horrible, but it could be constant. And actually, rain days are great days to get out and explore because it's much less crowded. A lot of people don't go out when it's raining. So pack an umbrella, a compact umbrella that you could easily slip in a pocket of your suitcase, and you'll be ready to go. I don't recommend the ponchos. We've done that. And when we wear the ponchos, it just gets us wet because you're wanting to take those on and off when you go into a cafe or sit down for lunch. And it's hard to take on and off without getting yourself all wet. Umbrellas work a lot better. And what you don't want to do is get stuck buying an umbrella off a street vendor because as soon as the rain comes out, those prices double. And what they're selling you is so cheaply made, it'll break the first time you use it. And these next two tips could ruin an entire day or more. I'm going to tell you how to avoid that. But first, if you would take a minute and subscribe to our channel, hit that like button. It will help us grow and continue to bring you travel updates. A lot of American tourists go to Italy in the summer or late spring or early fall, where it can be quite warm in many Italian cities. And if you are going to Italy, you have to be aware that they're still a pretty religious country with some specific customs and rules when it comes to clothing in certain venues. So if you're planning, for example, to go to the Vatican or to go to any religious site, you will not be allowed entry if you don't have your shoulders and knees covered. And this goes for both men and women and children as well. So you got to watch out for that because if they turn you away and you don't have the proper clothing, you really can't reuse those tickets because tickets, for example, to get into the Vatican are timed and dated. So you have a specific time and a specific date, and you miss that, you're not getting in. You'll have to buy another ticket. And because these tickets have to be purchased in advance during busy times, there will be no more availability. For women who have shoulders exposed, it's fine. Just bring a scarf that you can drape over yourself. That's totally appropriate. Make sure that you have pants or skirts long enough to cover your knees. Otherwise, you won't be allowed in. And for men, it's the same thing, more so with the shorts. Make sure you're wearing jeans or something that covers your knees because they will deny you entry at many places, even at some museums. You really need to check the dress code before you go if you're traveling in Italy.
So this gives you more reasons to wear different outfits through the day. That's a good excuse.
A couple years back, I made this huge mistake. I thought I was doing everything right. I packed everything into a 22-inch carry-on suitcase. I was all set. I wasn't worried about anything. But when I got to the airport, I was one of the last people to board. And the airlines told me, "We have to check your bag. There's no room in the overheads anymore." So I'm thinking, okay, no big deal. I'll check the bag. They didn't charge me for it, right? But when I got to Rome, the bag didn't make the plane. Somebody left it back at the airport in the US. So I was without my suitcase for 24 hours. It took until the next flight for them to bring it to me. And I didn't put anything in my backpack that I needed, like a change of clothes, a toothbrush, any medications you might need. These are things you need to pack in a personal item in case something like this happens. Because even in the best scenario. You can't control what's going to happen with that carry-on bag. They could require it to be checked, and you could be missing things you really need. I was struggling that first day. From now on, every time I go to Italy or anywhere overseas, I make sure to bring at least 1 day's worth of stuff in my backpack so I have a backup. It's like a 24-hour emergency kit, because that's what about it's going to take to get that bag to you from the next flight. So now that you know how to pack for Italy like a pro, there are a lot of tourists in Italy making mistakes that waste time and cost them a lot of extra money. I'll tell you how to avoid those right here.